Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. You know, when the emotions are high, the money transfers. It transfers from the inpatient to the patient. And that's what we're going to see over the next few months and years to come. Today, we're going to be talking about what the hell's going on in the market? The sky is falling. Everybody's going to start panicking. If you have an investment account, if you have a crypto account, you felt the burn over the last couple of days, or I should say weeks, but mainly
Yeah.
over the last couple of days.
Don't worry, Coinbase is not going bankrupt. They have 8 billion in cash, another billion in Bitcoin. They could
Is that what they
survive.
is that what they have?
Yeah.
They have that much money?
Yes.
Yeah, I have Coinbase. It was 386 earlier this year, I think, and it's at $50 or something. I kept
Oh
getting
yeah.
alert on my
At one
phone.
point, it's down
Coinbase is down.
88%.
Yeah, I kept getting
Right.
alerts on my phone. Coinbase is down 20% today, 50%. I'm like, Jesus. Yeah.
Just like trees don't grow to the sky, everything doesn't fall to zero. Coinbase is not going anywhere.
Yeah. So what do we talk about today? The 4Gs, Craig. A little bit
The 4Gs, man. I mean, we're living through, for some of you guys haven't been through cycles, right? I remember 1987, Black Monday. I was a stockbroker, right? Selling securities and insurance. And it was 100-year event. Talib, the Black Swan, that was all the big rage after that 87 market crash, Black Monday. And this was a 100-year event, right? And the market crashed so much in one, it was like 1,000 points in a day back when the market was nothing, not 35,000 like it has been currently. And so what happened? Well, 13 years later, the internet bubble hit, Y2K, our computers are all the whole world's going to stop because the coding nobody ever foresaw, and the computers are going to stop working, and it's the end of the world. And the market crashed in 2000. Another 100-year event, only 13 years apart. What happened 8 years later? Oh my God. The mortgage crisis, ninja loans. Nobody went to jail for it, right? But consumers got screwed, and the government bailed out, with
Nobody
trillions of dollars, the big companies. And there we go, another event. And here we are in 2022, and the market's correcting, and we've got, I love it. I mean, who here? Raise your hands, right? Inflation 8.3%. What a load of bullshit. Gasoline's gone up 40%. Rent's gone up 50%.
Gasoline's gone up. A year ago in March 2021, gas was $2.56 in Vegas. I filled up. I said, "Hey, gas ain't so bad over here compared to California." I filled up the other day going to California, and it was $6.89. $6.89 a gallon. Now over here, it's like $5.25, so it's literally up over 100%.
No, well, maybe it's just an example of our public school system, right? This is their math, right? When it goes from $2.50 to $6, that's an 8.3% rate increase. Oh no, you know what they do? They just take that out of the calculation. But what about food prices? Everybody has to buy food now. No, that's not in it either. Rent? No. Home prices? No. All those things have gone up 15, 30, 50, 60%, 100%. And so they tell us it's 8.3%. Great. Yeah, you just keep buying that, right? And for the majority of working Americans, they live on a fixed income, guys. You're going to get a 3 to 6% pay raise, and when everything you have to buy to take care of your kids, not to mention, what are the most expensive things? Healthcare and college degree. Those have increased at a higher rate of inflation than anything else in our system for 20 years.
You think they're not going to get their increase with inflation? I'm like, well, if inflation is 8, I'm getting at least double that. You know, what's to come? Show sponsor, Virtue Health. Check us out, virtuealliance.com. Book a demo. We'll tell you more about our solution. Yeah, I think what's to come, obviously there's fear, there's uncertainty. You don't know. You can't predict anything. But I mean,
stop watching television.
What goes up must come down. What comes down must come back up.
Yeah.
I think it creates, like I said earlier, money transfers in high states of emotion, money transfers from impatient to the patient. And that's really what you have to practice and believe in things that you're invested in, hold them, have a time horizon, the long term. And look, it's scary. I know it's hard. It's hard to watch your account go down 6 figures in a day. be okay with it, But the reality is, obviously, things come back. The goal long term is really, hey, when things are down with it, what does Buffett say? When blood's on the streets, that's the best time to
There's
come in
money
and
to be
invest.
made,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so that's tonight's show, the 4 G's: guns, God, gold, and groceries. Hey, if all you want to do is curl up with a blanket and sit in front of your fireplace, then that's what you need. That's all you need, right, to survive. You're the 4 G's: guns, God, gold, and groceries. And that's cool. If you live in a world of scarcity and that's what's going on in your life and that's your belief system, okay. Okay. But the rest of us are all going to go get shit done because, like Warren Buffett said, when there's blood in the streets, man, there is a lot of money to be made. And that's exactly, we're at this inflection point that we haven't seen since, oh, yeah, you young guys, you weren't around long enough. 1994, Hillary Care. Bill Clinton was the president. His wife came in and said, I'm going to carry the flag for nationalized health care. And she came in and, oh my God, I mean, yeah, it was incredible. But long story short, rates went down 20 to 40%, 2 years in a row. I mean, most health insurance brokers didn't even have to get out of bed to run their business.
Interesting how they can do that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, right? But that's what it's all about. It's the story of Chicken Little, right? The sky is falling, the sky is falling. An acorn falls on its head, and the Chicken Little says the sky must be falling. And then they go and spend the whole story, go notify everybody, right? Talking about jumping to conclusions. So if you think this is the end of the world because the stock market's down and your crypto's down and everything's just so expensive, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So for the rest of us, though, look, this is an unbelievable opportunity because we already know if inflation's really more like 15%, well, the health carriers are going to increase their rates dramatically, absolutely dramatically. Let's just look at a couple of business heroes in America, right? Bezos, he did 1997, I think, like 148 million in revenue. 2021, like 457 billion. He started out as a bookstore online. Everybody said, you're absolutely nuts. But what did he have? He had 3 things: passion. He was massively, crazily consumer centric. It was all about the consumer. I don't think he made money for at least a decade, and he didn't care. He told people, look, if you're patient, this is going to pay off. And man, was he right. And then the other thing that he loved was experimentation. Now, I want you guys and gals to think about this. You're so afraid to try something new with your customers, and your customers are scared to death to try something new. So if you don't exude confidence and certainty that this can work, it will do what it say it's going to do, then you are not going to be able to help them, right? What are you going to do to help people? Well, it needs to have a small price, but a really big impact. What Peter Diamandis calls a moonshot, right? We all have to think 10 times bigger than we do. And so what are you going to do? Well, you got to convince people that this change is exactly what they need to do because everything else around them is changing. So you had Bezos, experimentation. He had a 70% rule. Just read, like Warren Buffett, you can read the annual reports every year. Read Jeff Bezos's annual reports. They're fantastic, right? Great business nuggets. He has a 70% rule. He says, I meet with our teams back in the day, and we would make a decision. I would ask, is there a 70% probability this is going to work? That's good enough. Let's try it. And experimentation has always been Amazon's rule. And so who's the next guy? Sir Richard Branson, right? Hundreds of companies. And his number one thing was, we got to have fun. If I think it's fun, then I think my customers will think it's fun too. But passion was a big thing for him. Experimentation was a big thing for him. And then cutting down his losses, right? He's been interviewed. I've seen interviews where he said, look, I don't lose money. So even when I go into a deal, I've got it set up so that if it falls apart, I get my money back. So he tries to avoid losses, but he experiments a lot. Nobody thought another airline was going to make it when he came up with the Virgin Airlines, and they came up with Virgin Galactic, and and on and on and on. Virgin Pulse, the largest wellness company in America.
Virgin
and so
phones.
These are people who take chances, who take what are perceived to be risks, but they're measured. And so we all need to do that in this business, and we need to convince our clients and our prospects that this is what they need to do, because we've already seen the results for the last 20 years of exactly what you're going to get. So if we've got inflation running at double digits and healthcare at a minimum is 2x published inflation, then you're staring down the barrelhead of 15 to 25% rate increases for the next couple of years, and it ain't going anywhere. John, I did a talk this morning on hospital dilemmas, right? Anybody who's not in our Heads Up Advisor group, right? You should consider joining. Do a search on Facebook, Heads Up Advisor. On Monday, we published a report. Hospitals said they're going to demand 7.5 to 15% increases in reimbursements from the insurance carriers, and some of them will offer that if they don't get it, they'll cut their contracts. Well, okay, people, if the hospitals are going to demand 7.5 to 15% higher reimbursements, what are going to happen to your premiums that your clients are going to have to pay? Holy crap. That's opportunity, right, John?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, look, there's going to be a lot of pressure. There's going to be opportunity. Look, it's good and bad. Like the Affordable Care Act was bad for advisors like you that were in a business. I was brand new starting. So it created so much uncertainty in the market. There was just massive opportunity because people were willing to take meetings with you because they were nervous, right? And so obviously that, if you have a block of business that you're managing, it's something maybe you want to get out ahead of with your clients. I mean, I personally like on my bigger clients to do meetings not at renewal time, way prior, stay engaged with them, have a preliminary conversation that's almost like the renewal meeting, and let them know what there is to expect. So it's not, such a panic come renewal time. But yeah, I think if you're new in the business, which we work with a lot of the new guys, and you're going to have massive opportunity. So your goal would be okay, any of that money you got, save it from going out drinking on the weekend and use it for cold calling. Because again, when there's uncertainty in the market, people panic, right? And right, like investors, they panic and sell when market's dipping. So, clients may make a change now because they're emotional and they're panicking. And
look, we talk to brokers all the time. We know clients will make a change, right? Because brokers tell us about getting fired or getting broker records. So, the game here is, look, I love your idea. Go and talk to customers off cycle. Go and talk to prospects off cycle. There's much less pressure on them. They don't feel inclined to necessarily feel the sales pressure of knowing that if this is within 60, 75 days of the renewal, you're going to ask me to fire my broker. All right. I've had this meeting before over the last 5 to 15, 20 years. And so you come off cycle, and how easy is it to have a conversation about inflation, supply chain disruption, labor costs skyrocketing because of the Great Resignation, new hires ghosting you, impossibility of actually hiring people. It's so difficult to find talent. And now with hospitals, right? So if hospitals have had negative profit margins every month this year because of inflation, because their labor costs have gone up 150%, because 20% of all healthcare workers quit during the pandemic, and the second order consequence of that is that now they have to hire contract nurses. Well, it's fascinating that an employed nurse averages $39 an hour, whereas a contract nurse averages $132 an hour. John, if you're running a company and you go from $39 to $132 an hour, plus everything else that you're paying for in your supply chain is going up, including your healthcare costs, what the heck is happening to your margins? Well, they're evaporating. And so now you have a built-in conversation for every prospect and tying runaway uncontrollable healthcare costs and then connecting it to now. So you're fully insured, Mr. Employer. That's fascinating. So what do you think is going to happen when hospitals lose money and they're 30% of your claims, outpatient facilities that most of them own, another 20, that's 50% of your claims, their costs, they're demanding double-digit rate increases from the insurance carriers. What are the insurance companies going to do to your premiums? they're going to raise them. And so your argument to me is that that's the safest, least risky way to manage $1 million, $3 million, $13 million budget. Interesting. We're going to have a lot to talk about, And so you, John, you have a niche of a specialty of helping people convert from fully insured to self-insured. And this is going to be the golden opportunity because, in fact, the only way to control your healthcare costs and pharmacy costs is to be partially self-funded.
Yeah, I think a good idea would be to go out, and I'm going to do what some of my clients already made plans to go out for 11 ones, 12 ones, 1 ones next month, and just essentially go out and get a feel for where they're at in their business to understand how their business is doing, how it's affecting them, so I know what to expect come renewal time. Are they gonna cut benefits? What is their goal right now? Because you could tell them, "Look, I don't know what the renewal is gonna look like, but let me show you the hospital report. They're demanding 8 to 15% more from the insurance carrier, which means 15 to 25% for you. Okay. So I expect this renewal to be very big due to these reasons, due to these several reasons, right? And
Yeah.
25% probably is a bargain compared to everything else going up 50 to 100%.
If
So
nothing else, don't shoot the messenger, right? I mean, you're doing your job.
Manage expectations, set the hurdles out there, and let them know, look, if it comes in better, great, but they're expecting a bomb to hit because of what the market is demanding, regardless of how they're running. The reimbursement is going to go up, which means the cost of the claim is going to go up, which means the cost of the stop loss insurance is going to go up. So all those things have to come into factor. Have a conversation like that with your clients and around business. And I think it's just kind of a cheat to go in and figure out how their business is going and have some ideas on what's going on. So again, you're not coming in at renewal time with a short period of time, dropping a bomb on them. They don't have a lot of time to react. Manage the expectation. What do you say, Greg?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. You're planning. Look, these are extraordinary times from the standpoint of trying to operate a business and, protect your margins, preserve your cash flow, try to make a profit, try to grow your profits. And so we all know that after payroll, for many, many organizations, healthcare represents that second largest overhead item. So your ability to convey the fact that you know how to control the costs, you know how to do it in a measurable and predictable way, will go a long way towards you keeping and acquiring new business, which we see every day with, frankly, the usual story. Hey, my dog's bigger, but he eats less food. That's what I call that pitch, right? I stole that from a broker. I'm like, God, I love that. That is just universally applicable. And so I equate that to, I can show you how to get a bigger discount than the incumbent because they're not doing everything that they can. Big deal. Yeah, everybody sounds exactly alike.
Yeah. So, so what is it that advisors can do? I would say proactive going into this market, Craig, that maybe come up in the past that you did or wish you would have done on the prior dips. One thing, well, you finish and then I'll tell you my side.
Well, the reality is, John, nobody's going to do anything if they're already comfortable with their lifestyle and their W-2 income. And that's cool, right? I did the lifestyle thing when my kids were growing up, and I ran a retail agency, and yeah, I mastered that game. And so if that's where you're at, cool, no problem. But for other people who want to be a hunter and not necessarily a farmer, there's been no better time. And I think it would be very easy to have a conversation with centers of influence and people who could refer you to their clients, because their clients are the people you'd like to have as clients. And you can go out there and have a completely different conversation than the typical health insurance broker, which is going to allow you to differentiate yourself in the eyes of the center of influence, the eyes of the prospect. And when it comes to your own client, they already know you, like you, and trust you. So you should be, doing them a solid and painting them a picture of, guys, based on my experience, this is the train I see coming down the track. So I want to let you know, right? I want to get a feel for how your business is running, right? And between you and me, let's figure out a game plan well in advance so that you don't feel like, you're getting stuck at the last second with no choices. I don't want you to feel that way. And so either one of those conversations are going to be solid for the success of your business. What do you think, John?
Yeah, somebody mentioned something about supply chain on here, and it's like you can segue that conversation. How's your supply chain looking right now? This X, that X, this percentage. I think this was last year or the year before. Maybe it was during COVID, and I had a 13% rate increase from a group, one of my groups, and they were a pharmaceutical company actually. And he's like, "Oh, well, what the hell's 12%? All my other costs are going up 40, 50% right now." Great. So again, comparative to the market, to inflation, to their supply chain, maybe healthcare's increase won't be so bad. They might be happy with. I mean, obviously nobody's happy with an increase, but you know, they already know how the healthcare games work. So that's a conversation you can have.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they kind of forget though, because most people only think about healthcare one time a year, right? And so call it, that 30 days before it's on their mind. Okay, so what do most companies do? They put out the tallest fires first. So in that last 45 days before the healthcare renewal, it's a tall fire. Somebody has to deal with it. Unfortunately, it's usually not anybody in the C-suite. So somebody here asked, "Hey, are you pre-selling future panic?" No, you're trying to pre-arm your customer or your prospect on these are the economic realities and you're not exempt from them. So knowing this is coming, this is going to happen, and knowing where you're at, and then if you can get them to tell you where they'd like to be based on the conversation you had about their business and the kind of impact, ultimately the segue is, how big of an impact does healthcare come in making that problem worse? And if you don't change it, is that acceptable? Can you absorb those kind of hits? And if you can't, don't you think your employees, you've been cost shifting to them for the last 5 years, you said, can they absorb any more? And if they can't, what happens if your best people start to leave for what looks like greener pastures? And you just tie this whole story together. And now all of a sudden they're like, I've never had a conversation with a health broker like this. And that is your in.
yeah,
Don't be
call it
like everybody else.
a defense plan. I mean, look, get out there, work a few more hours, go see your bigger clients, get them prepared to keep them from panic and uncertainty. If you were a financial advisor right now, you'd be communicating a lot with your clients, right? You're going to be getting
Yeah.
calls, letting them know what to expect to calm them down so they're not calling you every week. It's going to be the same thing with ours. Fortunately, it's only once a year, but it's good to go out as a defense mechanism, let them know what to expect, find out where they are. Now, opportunity wise, I look back on COVID and what did I do? I panicked. We were spending a lot of money on marketing every month. Wouldn't go away. And then by end of July, August, I started the panic really set in. It's like, shit, is this coming back? Maybe it's not coming back anytime soon. This thing is not ending. And so what did I do? I lowered my marketing at the time. I cut a lot of the expense down on the marketing and stopped marketing as much as we were. And I said later, that was just a mistake, right? I'm not retiring. We're not going out of business. So why stop it and then have to restart that cycle up? You lose the audience, you lose customers, opportunities, whatever.
Yeah.
So what I would say is look, continue to do what you're doing in marketing, function as if everything is fine, because once you start marketing and selling, the business, they say the book goes one direction only. It doesn't say flat, it goes up or down. So either you're driving it to go up or it's going to go down.
Yeah, and don't confuse trend for new organic growth. It's just the insurance companies doing you a solid and getting you a pay raise on your insured groups. It's been that way for 20 years, guys. There's just a lot of pressure in many states to convert from insured to self-insured. If you're in a state where that ain't happening, well, I guess you just consider yourself lucky.
Yeah, I mean,
right? I mean, it's not a market everywhere, right, John?
If you're in a single only market, where the employers are paying, I see it a lot in Florida, Texas, Arizona, they're paying 50% of single, nothing for dependents. You're a fully insured. You're a fully insured client. It's going to be very hard for you to ever go self-funded, in my opinion, traditionally the proper way. But yeah, I mean, I think what's to come, I don't think it's gonna be good in my opinion, looking at even some of the renewals now and what they're looking at in trend, and the underwriters wanna get X amount in trend to be they're always gonna be on the more conservative angle, right? Let's collect more as much as we can. Uh, if you look at, what fully insured does, they're smart because they always release a renewal that's 20% and then come down to 10 knowing they were gonna go to 10. But they wanna they don't wanna make it so apparent that 10% is big. I did a call today, and I have to think through this more, but typically with my renewals on Virtue, I do all the work in advance, and I get it down as far as I can and tweak them down and relook at the underwriting and the ag factors and try to get it to my best number and go out with that, right? And then today, one of the customers was like, "Oh, can you get him down? Can you beat him up more? Put your punching gloves on." I'm like, "You don't understand. I've already went through that process and beat the hell out of him, and you should be at 20%, and so on and so forth. You're at 12.8, and that's on a contract change, okay? 12,
Yeah.
12, 24, 12.
I
Contract change is 20% plus the increase, call it 25. They're at 12.8 because they're running well in the ag and got the but the point of the story is you know, maybe go letting them know, this higher number is coming out and then getting it down later, comes across a lot better to them. Perception's reality. It's just a thing. Had I come out and shown them what was released and now see it, they'd be happy as a pig in shit. But right now they see it at X and they want to go down from there. So
Yeah.
again,
You
not
gotta know
100%.
you gotta know your customer, right, John? The psychology of, this buyer likes to feel like they've negotiated the very last squeeze, right? And so we would learn who those people are, and we would go out and go, well, here was the initial, here's the negotiated renewal, and we'd already have the final, but we wouldn't show it to them. We'd have the meeting, and they'd go, just like that conversation you just had. Oh, can you grind them some more? Can you ask them to sharpen their pencil? Can you put on your boxing gloves? Can you hit them with a club? All that stuff. And a couple days later, we go, oh, hey, great news. We got it. We got it down a little bit more. Good. Right. So it's the
Oh,
psychology of,
they
don't
love it.
necessarily
I
show
mean,
everything.
they're usually happy. My clients are like, "Oh," because my account manager will, get back to them. "Hey, we got them to go down to this, da da da," with outside competition. Be like, "Give Dan a raise, John. Give him a raise." They would be happy. This meeting happened to be one on Virtue Health side, and it was for another broker, and I don't really know the clients that well. Obviously, I'm not working
Yeah.
them on a day-to-day basis, but I did have a conversation with them the year prior, and I let them know, "You're buying a 12/12. This is what the mature contract is going to look like just for the contract change." So the problem is now they're in a position where they're trying to figure it out how to sell it to the owner. So they got to go to the owner with it. And it's like, "Well, how are we doing?" "Oh, 12.8." Well, just on the surface, that sounds like a lot, not knowing that last year, and this is all done in the renewal presentation,
Yeah.
so on and so forth, charts and illustration is, hey, look, let me see if I can pull up this thing that I had showed. You've got to show the historic, the year over year, right? Let me share my screen here.
Yeah, because you never know internally when this thing gets socialized inside the company, who's gonna present it, what are they going to be looking at. There's no context unless you give them kind of a historical perspective.
Yeah, so you see here, let me just see here.
Yeah, I can see that.
You could see here what I did is, showing 2015 was their fully insured renewal, the PEPY, and fully insured. Then their renewal was 2016 where I met them. Okay, that was the first year. And my max cost was X. It was about the same as fully insured, but when the dust settled, they spent 8,600, and then I show year over year. And so for this one, what I'm going to do is I said, look, let me go back to you and get a story so you can tell the owner and show you. Well, last year, if you renewed at your fully insured level, it would be at this. Our maximum exposure was 7.5% less on the 12/12. Plus your surplus is probably at least another 5. So you spent 13% less this year than you would have fully insured. And now what? Your contract changes 12.8%. So you're essentially flat. And that's if you hit it. Because that's just, there's soft costs in there. So, it's a story you got to tell them. We're on the perception of, or on the surface, it looks like 12.8, and that's all they hear. Right? I always set the expectation for the next year. So when we had this year here, 7,300 PEPY, I said, look, it's running great, but we could have our bad year, which we had the year before. I felt we still paid less than a couple years back. But what I said to him is, look, it could go up 20, 30%, but you have to remember, we're still paying less than we did 5 years ago, or our average year-over-year increase is 1% or something like that. So you've got to conceptualize it.
You do
really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could show, okay, here is annual savings versus fully insured trend, right? Take the trend number, year-over-year savings, and then you can go down to cumulative. Hey, Mr. Employer, over the last 5 years, had we not met, you would have spent approximately $1.3 million more in healthcare premium. Yeah. Thank you very much.
If I generated $1.3 million in sales, I used to have fun with this. I mean, would I have been your biggest salesperson that wasn't on payroll? Yeah, I mean, that's the real dollars, man.
Just some ideas here, guys. What else we got before we wrap it here?
I think that's a full plate, man.
Yeah, I think you could play a little bit of defense game because of the uncertainty and emotions of the client. And look, even this group, they're running well. They're doing great. They're kicking butt. I'm excited about their renewal. And it's looked at negatively because they don't understand it. And it's not conceptualized. It's not illustrated correctly, showing year over year and reselling the long term, right? You're reselling this long-term strategy. You can't go in and go, well, what are we going to do this year? No, this is what we're doing over the next 5 years. We've already made a commitment. Yeah. We had one of our advisors on the weekly sales call, the Hunters Club call. If you want to get on that, all you got to do is have a piece of business with us. But he said, I went in and sold a 2-year contract. I showed him a 12-18 to 12-18, and then I showed a 12-12 to 24-12 and how much it would save by doing it that way. But let them know you're buying a 2-year agreement, and here's what the contract change will look like. And this is a 2-year play. So you're signing up with me for 2 years, right? And I thought that was an interesting way to do it. Very good way to do it and manage expectations. And then get them out of that annual cycle.
Exactly. Yeah. There's never been a better time. This is everybody's job. I always felt like it was my job, but it's everybody's job now. This inflation just makes it so simple for you. You need to go out and, in essence, you need to scare people. There was a thing back in the day when I was in high school, Scared Straight had just started. And so before the senior prom, they'd have, you'd hire these companies, they'd come out and they'd have this heinous car accident and they'd put that in the quad and they'd remind everybody, party safely. And so this is your opportunity to scare people straight. You go, look, you don't know the price of the hospital bill. I just explained to you why guaranteed those are going up, which means your surgery center is going up. Your pharmacy is already going through the roof. I just gave you data on this, right? It's 1% of frequency of claims or 50% of the claims in some groups because of specialty pharmacy. And, you're painting this picture like, are you kidding me? I mean, you don't know everything about the way you manage healthcare is uncertain. And then you got the insurance companies who are then going to pass on their costs because the reimbursements are all going to be required to be higher. And who ultimately funds that? Because, the insurance companies are just like our government. They don't have any money except what they tax from you. So if you're not willing to control these costs, then you're going to keep taxing you, your company, your net worth, and all of your employees, right? I mean, healthcare is the greatest tax for the last 30 years in America, right? Dave Chase quote. It's fabulous, right? I mean, it's really true. So look, you paint him the picture, you hold up a mirror and go, this is what you're doing. Now, you told me out of one side of your mouth, this is what you'd like to have, but here's your reality. How much authority are you going to give me to fix this problem for you?
And somebody put the increase in certainty. Yeah, look, there's going to be a lot of things going on. They're going to be on a lot of duress and stress and pressure from the wages, so on and so forth, to come in and go, look, I got this. Here's what at least to expect. And here's some ideas we can look at come renewal time. It'll put their mind more at ease come regarding the healthcare that maybe some of the other parties or vendors managing stuff for them are not doing. And they're dropping that bomb on them at the end and going, hey, it is what it is, man. Supply chain going up 80%.
Yeah, I mean, you're either going to deal with it or it'll deal with you.
There you go.
That's it.
Can you ask your clients, are you raising your prices? Can you raise your prices? What are you raising your pricing at? It's another good conversation.
Yeah.
I asked
How are
my
you going to raise your prices 16%?
I asked my one client, "How much do you charge for garage doors?" She's like, "As much as I can." Good answer, right? So, look, they know the game. They're not idiots, but get out there, get ahead of them. I think we'll wrap it there. Final thoughts, Craig?
That's it. Go get some business. Go to work.
When you have new business sales coming in, all other problems are just not that big anymore.
New
As long
revenue
as you have
solves most
new
of your
business
problems.
coming in, right?
Yep.
Solves most of the problems. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Heads Up Advisor every week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. See you next week, guys. Peace. Be good.